Hey, this is Buck Dharma of Blue Oyster Cult, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, WMP Television. Today's show is brought to you by UppercutChops.com. Check out their tasty selection of all-natural, dry-aged USDA prime Wagyu steaks and chops. Wait till you taste their best-in-class New York steaks, the filet mignon, and of course the king of all those cowboy cut and tomahawk cut ribeyes. They are massive. USDA prime, man, are they good. UppercutChops.com. Those steaks and chops are amazing. Check them out at UppercutChops.com. That's UppercutChops.com. Or give them a call and find out what's for dinner. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935 for UppercutChops.com. All right, welcome in everybody listening in on our CBS, NBC, and Fox Sports affiliates, plus independents from coast to coast. Everybody also on Cox, Comcast, Spectrum, Frontier, Oceanic, Time Warner, WOW Cable Television in select markets. Thanks for joining us also on Hotel Television in all Nielsen-rated markets, plus on streaming media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or Facebook or whatever it is. Oh, by the way, big hello to our friends over on Facebook on Chicago Food Favorites. Folks, make sure you check that out, Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. All right, going to get right into it here. Major League Baseball, you know, it has a problem with, I wouldn't say political correctness. I would say Major League Baseball seems to be getting a little bit soft. And it has been doing this now for the last maybe 20 years. Why do I say that? Because I think of how baseball has been a self-policing sport for over a century, right? Somebody gets out of line, something weird happens on the field, and that's just how it goes. However, in today's time, that's not acceptable, kind of like you have to use all these other identifiers for this, that, or the other, and pick your favorite conversation outside of sports. It's the same thing. And unfortunately, as we see Major League Baseball has gone one particular way. Well, guess what? We've seen it in the political arena too. And you have one opponent cheating for another opponent, or you have moderators cheating for who? Yes, for opponents of one another. The whole thing is ridiculous. But what I will say here in this case, in Major League Baseball, now you have the umpires, in my opinion, that seem to be influenced by the gambling world. I'm not really sure how that one works. But, well, I think I may have an idea. But then again, that's just my opinion, and I'm entitled to it, if you know what I mean. Anyway, Major League Baseball now says, well, you can't really police anymore. We're going to go ahead and we're going to have players suspended for trying to protect their teammates. And that's in the short run and long run. When I say protect, sometimes a pitcher will drill a hitter for something that happened a week ago, a month ago, even a season or two ago. Well, they step in now and say, well, you know, we're going to warn you, you can't do this and you can't do that. And here in today's episode, Major League Baseball suspends Tampa Bay Rays pitcher Edwin Uceta for 3 games for throwing at Nick Castellanos. Come on. But you can call it Castellanos. Not really sure. We don't want to say it wrong because we don't want to offend anybody that may be listening. Anyway, Major League Baseball has suspended this Rays pitcher for 3 games, apparently for throwing at Nick, unfortunately. And of course, Rays manager Kevin Cash received a 1-game suspension for the incident. Both also received undisclosed fines. Where's the money go? Oh, that may go into a slush fund of sorts. We'll get back to that later. Anyway, so this discipline, allegedly, was announced today. And the incident took place during the Phillies' 9-4 win over Tampa recently. and resulted in both benches clearing, of course. And there's nothing wrong with that. Come on, folks, let's have a little bit of chaos on the field. That's what we need. And, of course, with the Phillies leading 9-4 in the bottom of the 8th inning, Uceda threw a 96-mile-an-hour first pitch sinker inside that hit Castellanos in the arm. So be it. And he responded by dropping his bat, taking off his gloves, and confronting Uceda. Come on. Get over yourself, buddy, because guess what? Life happens, and, well, let's face it, in the baseball world, this is commonplace, and you should expect it. 1% out of the hitters actually get hit. 1%. So get over it. You know what the risk is of getting into the batter's box. I said that as a former pitcher. And so, of course, the Phillies first baseman, Bryce Harper, big bad Bryce Harper, he was at second base when Castellanos hit and immediately walked toward the mound. Okay, Bryce, like you're going to do something about it. I don't give a damn if you're from here in Las Vegas. You're no tough guy, so get over yourself. In fact, if you're such a good guy, and this is my opinion, folks, it's nothing more. Bryce Harper, if you're such a good guy, and you're such a whatever you think you are, whatever the fans think you are, why don't you go back to the College of Southern Nevada Athletics and do a little bit something special for them, seeing that you've got that jumbo contract. And yeah, those guys did a great job in developing your talent and also in, well, we'll just kind of leave it like that because you caused a little chaos over there that I know about personally. And of course, Bryce Harper, I don't see you doing anything special for the institution that gave you your big break. So, Bryce, this is for you and your lack of accountability and lack of generosity and lack of everything else. Sorry, Bryce, not one of my favorite humans. Nonetheless, so he walks over like a tough guy over towards the mound, like something's actually going to happen. And this is crazy. So I've got a clip here. Let's see if this actually comes through. NBC Sports Philadelphia, of course, so you get a little Homer flavor here, but let's see if there's anything that's of value here. So let's just go ahead and play this, and here we go. Let's see what we got. All right, sorry for the delay, folks. This is not us. This is...
Bryce now with 39 doubles on the year. Castellanos is hit by the pitch, and he is not happy. The benches are going to clear. Harper's already at the mounds. Castellanos has been hit a handful of times this week. Dusty Watson comes over with Brandon Marsh to move Harper away. The bullpen's clear as well.
This guy. Just step away, Harper. Seriously. This is ridiculous. Like he's actually going to do something about it. Harper's not going to do a damn thing. That's right. Restrain me. It's kind of like Madison Bumgarner. Same crap. When there was conflict on the field. Hold me back, because I don't want to get hit by somebody. That's typically what happens in these things. So you have these bench clearing balls, but there's no brawl. Uceda would have wiped him out in the first place. And I guess the best thing is next time Uceda gets a chance to face Bryce Harper, let's see what happens. Anyway, he had been struggling apparently in his relief appearance, allowing the Phillies to blow the game open. They took the mound in the bottom of the 8th with one out and runners at the corners, and the game tied at 4. He allowed a double to Cal Stevenson. That scored a couple and gave the Phillies a 6-4 lead, then struck out Garrett Stubbs before allowing a single to Buddy Kennedy that scored Stevenson. Trey Turner then hit a 2-run homer that blew up the lead and the score to 9-4. Uceda then allowed a double to Bryce Harper before hitting Castellanos with the pitch. Uceda was ejected, having allowed 3 earned runs while recording a single out. So be it. Okay, so this guy had a bad outing. It happens. It doesn't matter. I mean, of course, Castellanos, what did he do? He addressed the media in the incident, and if there's any language here, my apologies.
Yeah, I almost like I got into the box. I wasn't even swinging because I thought there was a chance that could happen, and it happened. I think that he was just pissed off that his numbers got messed up.
You don't have any beef with him, right?
No, just other than like having a overwhelming sense that I was about to get drilled.
You thought it might happen just based on the way the inning went against him to that point, or?
I can't explain it, just I know that he had relatively pretty good numbers going into that, and just watching him, I could see him getting frustrated, and I was digging in. I'm like, I'm going to take this pitch right here to see if he's around the plate, and it wasn't anywhere near the plate.
So what was that like when you see your teammates put on Bryce, like, come right?
No doubt, because I think that we all kind of got a sense of what it was, that he was just pissed off that, he got hit around and his ERA shot through the roof.
Is it frustrating because A, was on purpose, but also B, maybe he could have gotten hurt there, I guess, in that situation?
Well, I mean, it was below. It was, like, right at my waistline. So, like, for that, I think I probably would have been a little bit more emotionally triggered if it was up, by my head. But I think Bryce kind of felt the same thing that I did, that wasn't even close.
There's not really a written rule about how guys are going to react or how you react back to them in that kind of situation, right? I mean, you obviously were a little pissed off too once what you thought was going to happen did. That kind of summed it up.
I mean, it's you're throwing a baseball over 90 miles an hour and you're frustrated and you're gonna throw at somebody. It's like my 2-year-old throwing a fit because I take away his dessert before he's finished.
Okay. Thing that we need to erase in here, but guess what, folks? Look, baseball is self-policing. They can't prove that he hit him on purpose because, look, nobody's going to say anything about that. And honestly, look, if you're going to cry about it in the first place, why play? Remember, there's no crying in baseball. We're going to be back here in a few minutes on the circus. Get over it, Bryce Harper. You're no tough guy. And get over it, Castellanos or Castellanos, whatever you want to call yourself. At least he sort of held his own, but Bryce Harper really needs to be reprimanded on this. He needs to be suspended. Back here in a few minutes on the circus. Lots more to come.
Attention business owners, you and your customers are listening to this right now. Face it, every business needs customers, even yours. The Sports Circus is a primetime nationally syndicated program that's carried on ABC, NBC, CNBC, and Westwood One News affiliates, plus CBS, Fox, and NBC sports affiliates across North America, with coverage from Hawaii to New York. Also, the Sports Circus is available to the 180 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, and the Sports Circus gets about 4 million website visitors per month, which could click through your website and bring sales. The Sports Circus provides great content featuring celebrity guests from sports and entertainment to our audience every weekday, which your company could greatly benefit from by increasing your visibility, foot traffic, eyeballs to your website, and calls from potential customers. Call us right now at 702-799-9935. Again, 702-799-9935. Or email us at info@thesportscircus.com. That's info@thesportscircus.com. Drive your sales today by advertising with the Sports Circus.
Could you use a little extra money right now? If you'd like to borrow up to $100,000 and get pre-approved in minutes, call the number we'll give you at the end of this commercial. Our lending partners have already loaned millions of dollars to individuals just like you, and we're ready to lend you up to $100,000 if you qualify. Even if your credit is not perfect, you could use the money to pay off high-interest credit cards, for home renovations, or consolidate existing debt. You can get flexible, easy-to-pay terms. The consultation to find out if you qualify is free. To find out if you qualify for our special financing program, call this toll-free number 24 hours a day. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. 800-335-1376. That's 800-335-1376. Important terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Loan amount, annual percentage rate, and term will vary depending on creditworthiness. Applying does not guarantee approval. Account approval is subject to verification and confirmation of your credit history and acceptance by a lender. If you choose to apply for a loan through us, a consumer report will be obtained to evaluate your creditworthiness in connection with your application for credit.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UppercutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes, are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UppercutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UppercutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UppercutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UppercutChops.com.
to the Sports Circus. I'm Roy Firestone. Now it's time to throw it back to Sal.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP Television. This segment brought to you in part by our friends over at the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. Check them out at csncoyotes.com for upcoming games and events. That's csncoyotes.com for the College of Southern Nevada Athletics. All right, welcome back to everybody listening in on our affiliates from coast to coast, including our friends over in Honolulu listening in on CBS Sports 1500 KHKA. That's home of the New York Yankees, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Welcome in everybody else up and down the West Coast, all the way right here through Las Vegas, out to Chicagoland, down through Texas, over to Alabama. WAUD 1230 on the AM dial. Thanks for joining us there, as well as in Atlanta, WDJY 99.1 FM, plus everybody else up and down the East Coast from Miami all the way up to Boston. A whole bunch of points in between and beyond. All right. Baseball is a funny game. Of course, as we heard in the previous segment, just about this self-policing aspect. It's been that way for over a century. But you know, some teams just seem to be good every year, at least over a long stretch of years. And the Houston Astros are that team. Like them or not, some people call them the Trashstros, some people call them worse. But these guys are good. Doesn't matter who the manager is at this point. They just have a very good core. They play together. And it's what a team ought to look like on the field, let alone on paper. But how do you solve them? Right? It's just the cream rises to the top every year. And for years and years and years, the Yankees were the same way. The Dodgers were sort of like that too. The Red Sox were sort of like that at some point. The Cardinals every year seem to be contending. Doesn't matter how good or bad they do in the season. Somehow, towards the end of it, they seem to find themselves in the thick of things. And if you're a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, outside of Paul Skeens and O'Neill Cruz, well, usually you see your team fade, kind of like Cincinnati Reds. You see your team fade towards the last month or two of the season. Nonetheless, the Astros are not fading. They're getting stronger and stronger. But how do you solve them? Well, the Oakland A's, soon to be the Sacramento A's, soon to be the Las Vegas Athletics, the A's may have found an unconventional way to at least keep the fire from really blowing up. Anyway, the A's put down 3 bunts in 3 consecutive plate appearances and on just 4 pitches. Oh, yeah, only 4 pitches. That's incredible. In fact, it was the 12th inning of their 4-3 win over the Astros at Minute Maid Park. Of course, Minute Maid, you don't give us any money, but we'll go ahead and say it anyway because we like Minute Maid. So with the game tied at 2 and nobody out, Daz Cameron got the bunt party started against the Astros righty Hector Neris. Now, he's a pretty good one, by perfectly placing a ball up the third baseline for a single that, of course, moved the automatic runner, Zach Eloff, over to third base. Now, Max Schumann followed by bunting a 1-0 pitch back towards Neris, who tried to make a throw to the plate but couldn't get a clean handle on the ball. And, of course, that he really took the ball and he threw it, but he spiked it. That's kind of what happens when you throw it directly into the ground. I mean, those are usually kind of funny to see, if you know what I mean. But allowing Eloff to score with the go-ahead run and Cameron hustling around to third base. So now you got runners at the corners. Anyway, Nick Allen bunted Neris' next pitch into the air, but it evaded the glove of first baseman Yanier Diaz. And, of course, allowing Cameron to score. So Jacob Wilson grounded into a double-A to end both the run of bunts and the inning. But 4 pitches, 3 bunts, and 2 runs came out of all this for Oakland. And it was the second time this season a team had bunted in 3 consecutive plate appearances. Now, the Cubs did it in the 5th against the Tampa Bay Rays way back in June. And, of course, manager Mark Kotsay says, quote, "That was well executed. Daz was bunting for a hit. Then it just became a first and third situation. We've been here lately and not been able to execute. We've had a couple of guys up there that could bunt, that could do a good job. And, well, we took our chances there in getting a run." And it was really nice to see Allen bunt getting through to provide that second run, especially with the top of their lineup coming up, close quote. So, honestly, this is really good baseball, and I'm going to get to this in a minute. But anyway, the last time the A's placed 3 bunts in an inning, in case you're wondering, you have to go back all the way in the time machine, almost 50 years. It's 49 years, and we'll call it 2 months, thereabouts, to find it. And that also occurred on back-to-back-to-back plate appearances. In the top of the first inning, though, Bert Campaneris, Bill North, and Claude L. Washington opened that game against the Orioles with nothing but bunts, though all 3 were thrown out at first base. And this was the 4th time on record in the modern era since 1900 that a team bunted 3 times in a single extra inning. The only other time it occurred on 3 consecutive plate appearances was way back on my birthday in 1966, before I was born, as the Braves did it in the 10th inning en route to a win over those Phillies. Of course, the Phillies that we mentioned last segment of their nonsensical taking it personal when somebody gets drilled. And by the way, folks, why do players get drilled on pitches? Why does that happen? Well, usually something bad happens from their team. I mean, if it's an accident, it's an accident. In some cases, it is an accident. But in some cases, it certainly happens on purpose. So I'm jumping all over the place here just for a minute. But I will tell you that the rules in baseball, that self-policing side, look, if something bad happens to one of your teammates, just like in hockey is self-policing as well. Of course, the referees have really clamped down on that. But they really, being the players, they look out for one another. In hockey, the little guys get hit by the goons on the one team, so the goons on their team go after the goons on the other team. You don't really see the goons, for the most part, go after the skill players on the other team. It's normally big guy against big guy so they can square off, and this is how they settle it. And if they don't settle it in one fight, they'll come right back after 10 minutes, a 10-minute misconduct penalty, 5 minutes for fighting, and then they'll come right back out and do it again. So you like that about hockey. But in baseball, we don't really have such a thing. So maybe somebody gets spiked at second base, or, I don't know, somebody gets ran into, or someone's talking trash, or these stupid bat flips, right? When these things happen, well, sometimes, players have enough. They're like, all right, enough is enough. We're going to send a message. We're going to put a pitch up and in right under the chin, or we're going to throw at their feet or something. But usually the intentional pitch that hits somebody is somewhere in the middle part of the body. They don't really go after their head for the most part. I mean, look, sometimes pitches get away. I can tell that as the former enforcer of my baseball team. So I can tell you that these incidents, sometimes they happen for a reason. Most of the time it's for a reason. But pitchers, these are professional pitchers, just like they're professional hitters, and they know what to expect on the hill or, of course, at home plate. And the umpires know this stuff too. But everybody has gotten so soft in today's game that everybody says, well, you know what? Let's not get our feelings hurt. And let's not hurt the feelings of our players either. All that kind of garbage. But unfortunately, when players that are on base, for example, they try to jump into the fold of things. This is a personal thing between the hitter and the pitcher. And there should be no issue with this whatsoever. But now we think of, okay, fine, you're going to put one of our guys on base. Let's go back to this Oakland A's and Houston Astros thing. The reason we're going here is because we think of fundamental baseball. What does it take to win baseball games if you don't have the big payroll, the big bats, and this, big that? Well, typically what it takes is some creativity, but it takes fundamental baseball. Now remember, baseball was not designed as a station-to-station game. No, it was designed to let's stretch a single into a double into a triple, a single into a triple, whatever it is. So let's go ahead and let's do different things. If these two teams are matched unevenly, or maybe one is falling asleep at the wheel, let's catch them off guard. Maybe their outfielders are flat-footed. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take the extra base just to test and see if they're lollygagging on a little Texas leaguer that drops right in front of one of the outfielders. Well, let's go ahead and take the extra base, and let's put the pressure on the defense. The bunts put the pressure on the defense. You lay it down, and you're hustling down to first base. You're supposed to really be moving. Well, and this is why I get mad when watching baseball games when players don't run out ground balls. Look, a lot of times, if these players are really busting it down the line, well, what's going to happen is you're going to put pressure on the defense. Maybe a shortstop's got an easy routine grounder, chopper, two-hopper kind of thing, and right, two-hop, all they got to do is throw it over to first, call it a day. But if they see the runner really moving down the line, well, it puts a little pressure on them. And that's the idea of this whole bunting thing in the first place. Put the ball in play. You never know what's going to happen from the other team. Fundamental baseball is played by a couple of teams in Major League Baseball. I'm very happy to see the Oakland A's doing it right now because they're going to bring that, Marcotte is going to bring that down here to Las Vegas from Oakland via Sacramento. But you also see the Arizona Diamondbacks doing this. And this is why they're in the position they're in. And that's why they were in the World Series last year. They fell a little short. This year they may get her done. But they play fundamental baseball. And that's the whole part of this game, folks. It's not, let's get on base, let's hit a single, then another single, and then just leave runners at first and second, and then another single. Instead of advancing from second all the way into home, let's go station to station. Now you got bases loaded, and let's hope for a single or a grand slam. Something to that effect. The Arizona Diamondbacks do it right. The Oakland A's did it right. And, of course, we like to give the Oakland A's a round of applause for practicing good fundamental baseball. And let's face it, it's a lost art in today's game. You'll see the World Series champion as a fundamental baseball team. All right, folks, back here in a few minutes. We're sticking with baseball because we have some postseason awards race by race to take a look at. Don't go anywhere. Last one to come here on the Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal of the Sports Circus, a primetime, nationally syndicated television, radio, sports, and entertainment show. The Sports Circus covers topics others are too scared to talk about. There's no other primetime show like it on here that'll punch you in the face and you'll beg for more. Join me, Hall of Famers, world champions, and all-star celebrity guests for chaos and controversy here on Libsyn and all podcast platforms, plus thesportscircus.com. Remember, folks, it's a circus and we prove it every day.
Hello Americans, it's Uncle Sam here. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS or state, don't worry. I've got important news that may help you negotiate a lower tax bill. In today's economy, the IRS has released a variety of new rules and is offering more flexible terms to help Americans looking to settle their IRS debt. If you apply today, we may be able to lift your wage garnishments and release a freeze on your bank assets or business. Our team of tax professionals can resolve your case and stop collection actions against you. Even if you've been audited or haven't filed a return in years, they can help. Call right now and find out if you qualify to settle your IRS debt for far less than what you owe. Pick up your phone right now and call us for a free $500 IRS tax review. Don't wait. Here's the number.
Call right now. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. 800-950-2049. For the last time, that's 800-950-2049.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing and always need to stick your fingers to test your blood sugar. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. Apply a discrete sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger sticks. If you are living with type 1 or type 2 diabetes and you use insulin or have had hypoglycemic events, you might be eligible for a CGM through your insurance benefits. U.S. Med partners with over 500 private insurance companies and Medicare. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill your insurance. Call us today for a free benefits check.
800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. 800-659-7805. That's 800-659-7805.
That's ridiculous.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Hey everyone, Dave Jackson here, ESPN rules analyst on ESPN Hockey, and you're listening to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio, AAMP television. Folks, make sure to check out thesportscircus.com for our upcoming guests, our prior guests, our recorded shows, and all of those are on pick your favorite podcast platform, whether it's Apple, Audible, Amazon, Pandora, Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher, whatever. We're there. So check out all those episodes, thousands of episodes. I can actually say thousands of episodes right now. That's amazing. I've been doing this for a lot of years, folks. Anyway, also make sure to check out the partners page. Lots of great partners over there. One of those great partners and a personal friend of ours. It's just something we like to talk about because it's wonderful. It's Al's #1 Italian beef at 1079 West Taylor Street in Chicago's Little Italy. Check them out at alsbeef.com. If you don't know what it is, check it out. If you like roast beef sandwiches, yes, I said sandwich. If you like those, this is the king of the mountain. The Italian beef sandwich. Don't confuse it with the Philly cheesesteak garbage sandwich. This is really good stuff, folks. Check them out again at alsbeef.com. That's alsbeef.com. Yes! All right, welcome back to everybody. You know who you are. TV, radio, streaming. Major League Baseball, these postseason awards are kind of heating up. And, of course, pick your favorite outlet. They'll tell you their version of it. And, you ask yourself which ones are relevant and which ones aren't. So as we think of, first, the National League wild card, unless the Cubs have some magic in them, it's 4 teams: Padres, D-backs, Braves, and Mets, period, for 3 spots. That's it. The Braves are going to flip-flop with the Mets. The Mets are going to flip-flop with the Braves. But the Padres and D-backs are in. I believe it's going to be the Braves in. But for 3 spots, let's face it, there's only 3 teams. So it's conceivable that we could have a 3-way or, dare I say, 4-way tie for those 3 spots. I don't really know about that. Anyway, we would have to break that down and really settle the math. But even if that doesn't happen, there are plenty of satisfying storylines there. And, of course, you've got the Padres having righted themselves after a maddening 2023. The D-backs proving last season's title run was no fluke. That's actually my World Series champion as I see it this year. But the Braves trying to forge their way through a litany of impact injuries. And let's face it, these guys have really been decimated. But somehow the Braves are still in the thick of things. That's unbelievable. And that goes to great management and great commitment from the players. And these guys have bought into a system, and it is a winning situation. And anyway, I mean, the Mets are doing what they're doing, but I really believe that the Mets, well, let's face it, they've got that big, high-priced squad. They folded last year under big expectations. And the Mets are a very streaky team. We don't really know what we're going to get there, but at the start of the season, it seemed inconceivable that the Mets could even make the playoffs over the Braves, but that's obviously a distinct possibility now because of all the injuries to the Atlanta Braves. Anyway, the Rookie of the Year situation, I've gone over this a few times, and according to Major League Baseball, they say it's the Padres' Jackson Merrill versus the Pirates' Paul Skeens, although 20-year-old Brewers left fielder Jackson Chourio sure is pushing himself into the conversation with a slash line of 320, 380, 584 in the second half, entering the game, his next game. But Jackson Merrill, as MLB says, appears to have become the favorite here in the season, which he switched position from shortstop to center field and made it look like no biggie. You know who else did that? Was O'Neal Cruz. O'Neal Cruz on the Pittsburgh Pirates. They recently moved him from shortstop because he was second in errors in baseball, only to Ellie De La Cruz. And the only reason Ellie De La Cruz gets a pass is because he's the most exciting player in baseball, truly a 5-tool player. And this kid is exciting. But nonetheless, when we go back to Jackson Merrill, they say he's come up with one clutch hit after another while padding his 127 OPS for a needy contender. Plus, he's played all season. On the flip side, you can argue that Paul Skeens, like me, I say Paul Skeens is the guy. This guy is 10-2. He came up in May. 10-2 with a sparkling 2.1 ERA. And let's face it, this guy is serious. And let's face it, he's very dominating. He even started the All-Star game for the National League. That's how good he is. And that's over all those other supersonic superstar starters and whatnot league-wide. Think about who he beat out for that position. I mean, obviously instantly established himself as one of the absolute best starters, also rookie or whatever. So in a baseball game, that's what you want. You want a dominant pitcher that's not going to take any garbage from anybody. And this guy is legit. And look, he should not be punished for being a pitcher that gets out there every 4 or 5 games. You can't help that. That's just what happens if you're a starting pitcher. But he has the stats locked up over Jackson Merrill. Jackson Chourio, I think, is a great player, and unfortunately, he's in a loaded Rookie of the Year race right now. Jackson Chourio doesn't stand much of a chance in this one, but whoever wins, and at the risk of being a prisoner of the moment, the NL rookie class feels like one that we're going to look back on someday and say, wow, that was a good one. Like we had the same thing in 1984, we had the same thing in 1986, we had the same thing in 1981, 1982, 1975. I mean, look, we've had great rookie classes, but this is a really good one. It ranks really high up there. So, moving on to the American League East, in the playoff format, and given what we've seen thus far in the revised wildcard rounds, it's hard to get as excited about the outcome of a division race between two teams that are both October bound anyway. But still, there is embedded interest, of course, to the American League East title, and no number 1 overall seed in the American League is in play. And of course, the banged up Orioles have had a rough second half, as I see it, but the race is still pretty exciting. And of course, those two keep flip-flopping back and forth between the Yankees and the Baltimore Orioles. I still think the Orioles are going to find their way to the top. Either way, I don't believe either one of those teams are going to be able to beat, yes, the Cleveland Guardians. So, I mean, look, for me, this one will rank much ahead of the East if the first place Guardians and second place Royals separated by 3.5 games. I think this race is a little bit more intriguing. And I think, honestly, either team, the Guardians or the Royals, they can beat the Orioles and the Yankees. Of course, now this 3.5 game lead is a little bit dubious. It had not already been completed their season series. And if the third place Twins, which are like 6 backs, I believe, were playing a little bit better, it would be even more exciting. I still think 3 teams from the American League Central are going to make the playoffs. But as it stands, all 3 of those clubs would make the playoffs anyway. But with Cleveland having turned things around after the 2023 setback and the Royals having risen from the ashes of that 106-loss season, there's a compelling content and contest here. The Royals erased what had once been a 9-game lead for the Guardians, only to go into ultimately a 3-game deficit, 3.5 game deficit. Those guys went on a 7-game losing streak, and, well, being the Royals, they made things a little bit less interesting, but lately they've made it far more interesting. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Cleveland tends to beat up on other teams that they're supposed to beat up on, and the Royals seem to stumble against the little teams that they're supposed to beat up on. Not really sure how that one works, but either way, those two teams are still there, and let's face it, those two teams are still doing what they're supposed to do, and they're very good squads. They're managed very, very well. They may not have the talent that the Orioles and Yankees have, but the Guardians and the Royals play with a little bit more heart, as I see it as a former player. Now, unless the Orioles falter and the Astros surge, this could be the case where the division winners rest and the second-place finishers has to play the wild card series. So you never know what's going to happen here with these Cleveland Guardians, but I have to say that this is a very interesting race. So the American League wild card race, when we think about this one, this race was virtually non-existent, only seeding among the Orioles and the second and third place AL Central squads to be determined until recently when the Twins were swept by the Royals and the Mariners, Tigers, and Red Sox all won their weekend series recently. So the Tigers are just 3 back of the Twins for the 6th seed. And with the Mariners and Red Sox trailing Minnesota by 4 games, heck, the Rays are 6 games back if you really want to widen the canvas. But it's fair to have a healthy skepticism about all of those squads anyway. But what's the story here is all these teams are alive. Remember, Seattle has arguably the best starting rotation in baseball. And a hot pitcher, a hot staff could change everything very, very quickly. I mean, look, they had a disastrous, being Seattle, they had a disastrous midseason funk that cost them a 10-game division lead over the Houston Astros and the Texas Rangers. The Rangers are faded, but obviously the Astros have ridden to the top, as we talked about. If they can ever figure out the whole bunting defense thing, that's a whole nother issue, if you know what I mean. But remember, those young Tigers are still very good, and they have a chance to overtake the Twins, just like the Red Sox do and just like the Mariners do. And if you look at the schedules, which we recently went over, it's the Tigers that actually have a very good chance to get past Minnesota. And we'll come back from break. We'll take a look at the American League West in a little bit more detail, outside the fact that, well, it's been the Mariners having somehow turned what was that 10-game lead into a 4.5-game deficit. But you know what? We won't start with them. Maybe we'll start with the Rookie of the Year, and we'll go with the American League because we already covered the National League. So back here in a few minutes on the Circus. Lots more to come, folks. Don't go anywhere.
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple phone call and learn how to qualify for up to $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.
If you served in the Marine Corps, by now you know about the contaminated water problem at Camp Lejeune. If you were stationed or worked at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1987, you probably have a lot of questions. We have some answers. You could be entitled to compensation. Billions of dollars are being allocated to pay for damages to anyone stationed at Camp Lejeune during that time. Unfortunately, it appears that officials may have known the contaminated water problem existed and did little to protect their men. The Semper Fi Code was not honored. If you or someone in your family has developed a serious illness, including various forms of cancer, call this Camp Lejeune legal support line right now. You can't turn back the clock and change what happened, but you can certainly call right now and learn your rights as a Marine. Here's the number.
Call 800-335-7196. 800-335-7196. That's 800-335-7196.
That's the sound of sizzling, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks from UpperCutChops.com. Their best-in-class filet mignons, New York steaks, and the king of all steaks, the tomahawk and cowboy cut ribeyes are the best in the business. Even their Prime Wagyu burgers will likely be the best you've ever had. Browse the full selection of steaks and chops at UpperCutChops.com from the comfort of your home or on your mobile device. UpperCutChops.com delivers all-natural, dry-aged USDA Prime Wagyu and Angus steaks and chops directly to your door, without the hassle of going to the grocery store and fight crowds to pick from a small selection of average at best meats with injected steroids, fillers, and coloring added to look good. Find out what's for dinner at UpperCutChops.com or call 702-799-9935. That's 702-799-9935. 702-799-9935. Or make your selection directly at UpperCutChops.com.
Hey everybody, this is Brian Urlacher. Welcome back to the Sports Circus.
Welcome back to the Sports Circus. I'm your Ringmaster Sal, live from fabulous Las Vegas in the AMP TV studio. That's AAMP Television. Folks, again, make sure you check out the sportscircus.com for those upcoming guests, prior guests on our recorded shows, which are our podcasts. No, we don't do a podcast. Our shows are recorded in their entirety and stored on that particular platform, and there are thousands of shows that you can listen to on pick your favorite platform. So either way, you can listen to our shows. Lots and lots of good content there. Some of it a little controversial, but that's okay. We're not worried about that. We just want to give people what they want, and that is a very clear perspective on certain things. By the way, folks, welcome back to everybody on radio and television. You know who you are. Everybody's streaming also on Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. Folks, make sure you check that out. Chicago Food Favorites on Facebook. And, of course, tell them the circus sent you. All right, back to baseball. American League Rookie of the Year. Definitely a close race, though the numbers involved ultimately really aren't so compelling, like the Jackson Merrill Paul Skeens. And so, over the National League. But in a recent MLB.com poll from late August, Orioles outfielder Colton Cowser seemed to be the guy with 20 homers, 21 doubles, and an OPS plus of 120. He was out in front of everybody, including Yankee starter Lewis Gill, a very good one, good young pitcher, 13-6, 3.24 ERA, and of course A's closer Mason Miller, 2.43 ERA with 23 saves and a .88 walks and hits per innings pitched. I don't personally believe that a closer should be that in this Rookie of the Year discussion or in any kind of an MVP race or anything like that, because they're really getting out there and throwing, I don't know, maybe a handful of pitches, whatever, and calling it a day. If it wasn't for the starters and the setup guys, the closers wouldn't have a job in the first place. And frankly, if it wasn't for weak starting pitching, closers wouldn't have much of a role in the first place. That's how I see this one. As a former starting pitcher, I could tell you it is a mess when the closers and all the relievers have to keep coming in and mopping up and, well, you know, we have a hold here, we have this stat and this stat here that really, they make sense, but they show how weak a starting pitching staff really is, especially in today's snowflake pitching world, because, well, we know that the pitchers really don't want to go over 100 pitches and a quality start nowadays, which is complete lunacy, is 5 innings. That's right, 5 innings, rather than 7, 8, or 9 innings going into the 9th inning. That's how soft the game of baseball has gotten. But anyway, Colton Cowser seems to be out in front here, but you've got others, too, in the discussion. How about Wilyer Abreu? 15 homers, 31 doubles, a 127 OPS, which he has more doubles and a better OPS plus than Colton Cowser. And there's another guy that no one's talking about over in Oakland. And this is a good young hitter that has Colton Cowser beat all the way across the board in all categories, as I understand it. Anyway, you'll have to check him out. But anyway, the race is not so clear just yet, so we'll have to see how that one goes. And it's pretty interesting. Now, the American League MVP race, you could have given it to Aaron Judge a while back, but guess what? Bobby Witt Jr., this guy, look, he is already the first player ever with 30 homers, 40 doubles, 10 triples, and 25 steals in a game, or in a season. That's crazy. And he's right there with Judge in both Baseball Reference and Fangraphs calculations of wins above replacement. Bobby Witt Jr., right now, in my opinion, is the best player in baseball. He really is. I mean, this guy can do it all. He's a team leader, and a leader in a way that the Royals believe so much into it. They gave him a jumbo contract, and the Royals don't give those big contracts out. But they said, you know what? We're going to give this guy an 8-year deal for whatever money. We're going to build a new stadium. We're going to build our franchise around this guy, and he is legit. Just like Paul Skeens over in the National League Rookie of the Year race. There should be no contest there. Bobby Witt Jr. has been consistent the entire season. And, of course, he won't get the same accolades that Aaron Judge will because he's in the number one media market in America. But Bobby Witt Jr. being in a third-level media market in the Kansas City Royal organization, he should be given this MVP trophy, award, whatever, because he really is doing it. And he hasn't hit a 14, 15-game slump like Aaron Judge has. And Aaron Judge is doing it right in the middle of a pennant race, too. So, sure. Remember, Aaron Judge also has Juan Soto protecting him in the lineup. Who does Bobby Witt have protecting him in the lineup? Nobody! No! So this is Bobby Witt's award. Give it to Bobby Witt Jr. This kid really deserves it. Over in the National League, it's so strange to see a designated hitter as the prohibitive favorite. But then again, Ohtani's doing something at the plate that, well, I mean, let's face it, 50 home runs, 50 stolen bases. It looks like he's going to be able to get that one done, and nobody's ever done it. So the voters definitely didn't ding Ronald Acuna Jr. for composing his historic 40 home runs, 70 stolen bases as the number one leadoff hitter in the world within the heightened stolen base environment last year. But Ohtani, in my opinion, should not be the MVP because if you're a designated hitter, you're not playing both sides of the ball. No. All you're doing is what? You're hitting. That's it. You should not be a most valuable player as a hitter only. You've got to do it in both sides. Now, Francisco Lindor, on the other hand, has been incredible. He's the biggest reason why this Mets team is the unlikely team or in the unlikely position of trying to pick up that last playoff spot. And, of course, he plays a premium position, which, of course, whether you trust the wins against replacement or not to calculate or not, is certainly way more valuable than no position, for example, that Ohtani plays. He doesn't even play a position. So maybe those bombastic New York media members who always make their voices heard will continue to make enough noise about Francisco Lindor to make this actually hit the ballot. I don't know. I really think that this Francisco Lindor performance is probably overall better than Shohei Ohtani's. And, of course, Major League Baseball has their poll, too, and they have Lindor getting 9 first-place votes to Ohtani's 28. So, I don't know. Wherever that 50-50 thing for Ohtani lands, who the hell knows? National League West, I'm going to give it to the Diamondbacks. Real simple. American League Cy Young, it looks like it's skewballs to lose, and this guy is going to win anyway. I mean, he really has a shot at the American League Triple Crown, which, of course, leading in wins, ERA, and strikeouts. I think he's actually got it. So, I mean, Logan Gilbert finished second in a recent poll, but I don't really see anybody beating Skewball in that. The National League Cy Young, well, everyone's saying Chris Sale. Chris Sale really deserves to be in consideration. He's probably going to get it. He's got 31 current first-place votes on a straw poll, so to say. And, of course, sorry, Zach Wheeler, but Chris Sale has really done it. Absolutely. So, Manager of the Year, I don't know. I mean, it's too early to say about those things, but I don't really care about that. You know what I care about is who wins the World Series. And I think, honestly, I care about fairness and fairness. When we think about fairness, we think about maybe an election debate. And you're not 3 against 1. You don't have 2 moderators and a candidate against the other candidates. And that's kind of what we saw on television in a recent debate between our 45th president of the United States, Donald J. Trump, and Kamala Harris. And what was unfair was, first of all, the fact that both of the moderators for ABC News seemed to be ganging up on Donald J. Trump. Now, look, it doesn't matter who you like. Fairness is fairness, and that's what this comes down to. And also, there was some discussion that Kamala Harris had earplugs or earphones in to be, I guess, getting information from some outside source. And that has widely hit the internet, folks. You can check that out. And you don't believe everything you read, but there is compelling information, compelling data to consider the idea. And how about this? You know, you think of this guy, Tim Walz, her running mate, Harris's running mate. How about Gordon Ramsay? We're going to give Gordon Ramsay an enormous round of applause, first of all. This is according to ESSPOT. So it's ESSPOTS.com. They say that Gordon Ramsay throws Tim Walz out of his Hell's Kitchen restaurant. Don't come back here again, you woke creep, is what he said. And so in a move that sent shockwaves through both the culinary world, of course, because we talk about food favorites and stuff like that. Well, here we go. In our final story, in a move that sent those shockwaves, according to ESSPOTS.com, Gordon Ramsay, famed chef, reportedly threw out Minnesota Governor Tim Walz out of his hit show's Hell's Kitchen we won't say last night, but this was an article that was put out there recently, as far as maybe about a week ago. And so this is really cool. Only because here you've got the culinary world jumping into things as well. It's like, no, you're not going to push us aside. So Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, he threw him out of his hit TV show, Hell's Kitchen, calling the politician a, quote, woke creep, close quote, after a heated exchange over the menu's, quote, politically incorrect, close quote, dishes. And the clash occurred during a special episode of Hell's Kitchen where celebrities and political figures were invited to test their culinary prowess. It was supposed to be a night of lighthearted competition, but with Governor Walz's progressive agenda meeting Ramsey's no-nonsense attitude, things took a sharp turn while most of the evening all those competitors were content with the challenge, preparing complicated dishes under intensive time pressure. Think about competition. Walz reportedly expressed concern over some of the dishes being culturally insensitive. Oh, come on. Give me a damn break. So, ESSPOTS.com continues with, the governor allegedly took issue with a meat-heavy menu, claiming that it wasn't environmentally sustainable and suggested swapping the beef Wellington for a plant-based option. Quote, we need to think about our carbon footprint and make more responsible choices, close quote, Walz is reported to have said as he pointed at the beef cuts. Ramsey, known for his fiery temper, wasn't having any of it. In fact, as soon as the words left Walz's mouth, those in the kitchen claimed you could actually almost see steam rising from Ramsey's head. Quote, what do you mean plant-based? This is Hell's Kitchen, not a woke daycare center. You want to save the planet? Fine, but don't do it in my kitchen, you donkey. Close quote, and that was from Gordon Ramsay as he allegedly yelled it. All right, so we've got to go ahead and have a big round of applause. And you know what? Good for him. Good for him for speaking up against these people that think they should tell everybody else what to eat, what to do when they've got problems in their own state. For example, this guy with cities burning down from these stupid protesters and whatnot. Let's go ahead and bail him out of jail anyway. So sorry, Mr. Walz, your time has expired in the way of your political career, in my opinion. And of course, guess what? Our time has expired here on the circus. We're going to see you in about 23 hours right here on your favorite station. So until then, so long, everyone.
Yes! You're fired!
Can your IRA stand up to the next financial crisis that our top economists are saying is at our doorsteps? By allocating a percentage of your IRA into physical gold and silver with a tax-free rollover, you can diversify and safeguard your holdings from turbulent markets and economic downturns by putting your IRA back on the gold standard. Find out how to safeguard your assets with a tax-free rollover with a Genesis Gold IRA, the only IRA that can hold physical precious metals. Call now for your free gold and silver report. Protect your IRA today with one simple $10,000 in free silver. Call Genesis Gold Group, empowering faith-driven stewardship. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. 800-932-5517. That's 800-932-5517.